All right, we are live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. We've got Dennis and Tony here. I'm sure Mr. Fox will be joining us here any minute. We got our special guests, as I mentioned on Twitter the other day. We got Remon Davis, you can see right there on the screen. Ray Davis, the Temple running back, sophomore, had a stud freshman season. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us, man. How you doing today?
Thank you. Doing pretty good. First and foremost, thank you for having me. Thanks for the invite. It's always good to be able to speak on shows like this. But I'm doing pretty well. I'm trying to stay fit, trying to be ready for the season. That's all that really matters. And when that time comes of, hey, let's get this going, let's get everybody back. I'll be physically and mentally in shape to be able to have another season, another good season that I was able to have.
Yeah, I heard we were talking a little bit off air. So what all do you have you guys doing as you're trying to get ready for the season?
We haven't really started doing nothing yet. We start on Monday. We just put in the protocol of just having everything. We're under 10. We're not going to be really inside. We're going to try to do the weight room stuff outside. So it's a lot of stuff that our weight room and strength and conditioning staff have and set plans for us, and which we trust them, and we know they'll make sure we're safe and sound and do what we have to do. Individually myself, I have a weight room down here in my apartment complex, so I'm doing, different stuff every day, just trying to keep my body ready and ready to go whenever it's time.
That is awesome. I know I cannot wait for college football season to start back up. Obviously, we want to make sure everything's safe with everything. You guys, I know you were talking about some of the testing you guys had to do and all that stuff, but man, I can't wait. I cannot wait for it to get here. So I mentioned you had a great freshman season. I'm gonna read off your stats really quick. I imagine you probably already know what they are, but 193 attempts, 936 yards is a 4.8 average. You had 15 catches for 181 yards. I'm sorry, 2 touchdowns. You had 8 rushing touchdowns. What was it like kind of moving into that college life? Obviously, as a high school player, kind of going into college, you've got not just adjusting to a college life, I'm sure, off on your own, but also adjusting to new offense, new way of life, new team. How was that moving into that and making that transition?
It was pretty difficult. Not a lot of people know, but I set out the spring. Academically, there was a lot of stuff going on, so I wasn't able to participate in the spring last year when I came in as a mid-year. So it was really hard, going through that time. I was like battling with depression. I was debating if I even wanted to play football because there was a lot of, stuff I couldn't do with the team. I couldn't lift with the team. I couldn't be in meetings. I had to do everything by myself. So it was a lot of frustration that was getting built up inside. In the spring, I had, in spring last year, I had so many, doubts of even if I wanted to play football. And, I tried to keep my head leveled. I tried to tell myself things would eventually, come to a clear path and things would be pretty good. And I ended up, winning my waiver and becoming fully eligible, which was, it was a great thing for me and my family. And right then and there, I just knew I had to play catch-up ball. I played catch-up ball with everybody else. I didn't necessarily know the playbook. I didn't know anything, to be honest with you. Going into summer ball, I was 8th on the depth chart first day. I was the 8th running back. And then by the second or third day, I jumped from the 8th to the 2nd. And, from there, I just knew that if I wanted to stay where I was at, I'm going to have to work in and day out. I stayed in with our coaches after doing extra film, learning the playbook, make sure I was on the field, trying to learn stuff with the quarterbacks. I tried to perfect my craft of trying to, separate myself from the other backs. And it was difficult. Learning the playbook was pretty hard after a while, but, once you kind of get all the signals down and get what they mean, it becomes fairly easy. And the weight room was definitely the biggest transition. In high school, we didn't lift that much. My program was, our coach cared more about just getting better on the field and kind of trying to better your skill level. We did lifting here and there, but we didn't do it so much. So definitely coming into the weight room transition was pretty difficult for me. Learning, how to be in the college weight room, even learning how much weights were. I was having difficulty putting 145 on the plate. I didn't know anything for a while, but it was definitely a hard transition. But throughout my time, my teammates and my coaches made everything, better for me, as the days went on. And it was like a one day day after day process of just trying to be better. It's kudos goes out to my teammates for helping me be where I'm at right now during that hard transition in the spring and during the summer and, fall and just that.
Yeah, that had to be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So last year was Coach Carey's first year at Temple, right?
Yes.
Do you think that benefited you coming in with the challenges that you faced? You still kind of had a clean slate, which allowed you to climb up the depth chart?
Yeah, I think he saw, with him coming in, he saw something, in me. He saw the hard work. And, as you can tell, like, it's hard for a kid like me who can't do so much with the team. You have to do a lot of individual responsibility of coming to lifting by yourself, condition by yourself. So I think he saw that I wanted to be there. He saw that I was going to give him my all. So I think with him being fairly new, it was a clean slate. It was something that um, he saw that this kid is ready to work. This kid's ready to put in everything that he got. In my opinion, I necessarily can't speak for him. I'm just going off what I think. But yeah, but also at the same time, I think Coach Collins, speaking to him when I committed to Coach Collins, I think he also had a plan for me to potentially play right away. So, I may never know. I don't know if it was just because Kerry had a clean slate and everything was new to him, or with Collins, it was always destined to be. I don't really know, but thankfully I was able to play and showcase my talent.
Now that you're back to practice, you've been tested. I don't know if we talked about that during the podcast or not, but you've been tested for coronavirus. And I just saw I just saw an update today that Adam Schefter retweeted something. NFL update said the University of Texas announced that 13 players tested positive for COVID-19 4 days after voluntary workouts. It was 13 of 23 players that showed up. And so I just am asking, like, with everything going on, I don't mean to like bring the room down. I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to do that, but I want to acknowledge it. Like, what are you guys doing to protect yourselves and to keep yourself healthy and to not, you understand the question, I hope.
Yeah, I don't want to bring the room down, but before I bring the room down, thanks,
okay,
Tony. Way
I'm
to go.
sorry, but I want to know. It's
Good thing
important.
Tony's here with us on Thursdays.
Listen. I want football to happen, and we have to acknowledge this. There has to be. It's just we can't just ignore this thing. I don't mean to bring the room down, but the room is. Yeah, you know what I mean.
No, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a conversation that it's meant to have. So I think we're following CDC guidelines. I think as a team we have meetings, we have these protocols that we're going to be going by and standing by. I think from our weight room staff to our coaching staff to equipment to everybody that works within our facility, they know what the plan is. They know to try to keep us safe. I think they have the best interest in us as players to keep us safe. I think one step was just getting everybody back to get tested. I think that's a great thing. I think just to be able to know, okay, they want to really know us, not just do the whole temperature check, not whatever the other ways of testing the method is. I think it's good that we have doctors speaking to us. We were able to get the testing done. We're able to get the results back as soon as possible to detect and make sure before we put everybody guys in big rooms together, put them around each other. Let's get these results back so we can find a way to isolate everyone to get them to where they need to be. And I think we have a great plan, and I think the way we're going to execute it will be beneficial for a lot of us.
I want to go back to something Dennis mentioned really quick, because we hear a lot about when players commit to other coaches. You committed to Coach Collins, and then he obviously moved on, and you guys got a new head coach in there. Like, what exactly is that like for you? Because we obviously hear all the time, or at least in the college world, that these coaches can pretty much do whatever they want, and that seems to be loosening a little bit on the players, allowing you guys somewhat better transfer rules and everything. But for the most part, once you commit, it's almost like you're going to be there, whether the coach that recruited you is going to be there or not. So what kind of was that like, finding out that Coach Collins was leaving, who was the one that recruited you, and a new coach coming in?
It really sucked, because I feel like I developed a relationship with Coach Collins a little bit. I feel like I developed, a relationship with some of the old staff members who were here, Coach, Tony Lucas, who was a running back coach. I feel like I was putting my trust in them, and believing their words. So it did hurt a little bit knowing that, sometimes you learn the hard way that college football is a business. It's a business. People have to do what's best for them and their families. Not every word's going to mean. Not every coach is going to mean their words. So I think it was a setback for me, but it helped me know that this is reality. This is what it is. Coaches will tell you one thing and it may not be what it is. So it hurt, but I'm happy because I think I love Coach Carey. I love what he brings to the table. I love him as a coach. I respect him as a man because, he's not about the flash. He's not about the rah-rah, the attention seekers. He just wants to play football. He wants to be that blue collar team that goes in like a business trip, wins the game, come back home, and which I think a lot of us need to be able to have coaches like that. For coaches to be upfront, very straightforward with you. Coach Carey is the type of coach who's gonna pull you around in different ways, and he's gonna tell you like it is. So I'm happy that I'm fortunate to play for Coach Carey. I don't have nothing against Coach Collins. I respect him too. He gave me the opportunity to be here. When we played Georgia Tech, there's a lot of speculation of a rival game, a revenge game. I try to tell people that there's no revenge game. There's no rival. Everybody on this, and I can speak for everybody on this team, is everyone really respects Coach Collins. He gave a lot of these players great opportunities to be where they're at now. It's unfortunate that he had to go, but it was for him. It was for him and his family. There's nothing that we can do about it. All we can really do is move on. And, players are going to know down the line that it's a business. You have to treat everything like a business. It's okay to get close to coaches. It's okay to develop relationships with them, but just know when it comes down to their family, they're going to make the decision that's best for them and their family. Yeah. So, it was difficult, but I was able to learn that this is a business.
Gotcha. So we were talking obviously a little bit on Twitter, and I'll let you know we had Archie Griffin on last week, which is a cool thing for us, and he talked about the transition that I mentioned earlier about high school to college. What was I guess your first moment that hits you, like that real moment, like, hey, I'm here, especially like when you were in those games, as you mentioned, you jumped from 8th to the 2nd on the depth chart. You like, I've watched a lot of your game film. I thought you were killing it. I had no idea you struggled with some of the things that you did earlier on. What was that first moment that hit you and you're kind of like, man, I'm actually doing this. Like, I'm succeeding in the college game.
College. So I'll use 2 instances, for example. Practice was one of those moments where I was like, holy, I'm here. Was doing linebacker, running back drills, having to block our big linebacker, Sean Bradley. That was the moment that I realized that I'm actually in college and I'm playing with grown men. That was one of those moments. But in the game, it was just like hearing the crowd. The crowd, it was that like, I'm here. Scoring my first touchdown and just being able to look around Lincoln Financial and just being like I'm here. Like I'm at the second or the biggest stage possible right now in my career, and that was the moment that defined everything for me to say, like, I'm in college. This isn't high school. I got 1,000 people watching. That I can't mess up. So it was that moment.
That is awesome. I imagine that's got to be like a very surreal moment to kind of, especially like you just said, just score your first touchdown at that level, have all those fans cheering. I mean, that's something I can't imagine that feeling. That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah. I felt like the man going to class the next day.
Yeah, I'm sure. No doubt.
The part about it.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, I felt like the man.
No doubt about that.
So we hear that football players are kind of creatures of habit, and obviously you talked about kind of how obviously last year, your freshman year, you kind of had a weird transition moving in through spring and everything, getting onto the field. How much different is that this year now too, as we've been kind of talking about everything going on with COVID-19? You guys didn't, I would assume, get to play a lot of spring games or anything like that, almost like you guys are going into this kind of cold. How has that kind of changed your preparation and everything for the 2020 season?
For me, it's just been about having that self-discipline to want to get up and go work out and go run and come with some of the guys on the field. It's all self-discipline. When you're during the season, you have to get up. It's a responsibility. It's mandatory. But now with the whole COVID going on, everything is kind of on you. You have to try to keep that same mindset of you still got to get up. You still got to go do what you got to do. And that's one thing that I've been focusing on is I still get up every day at 6:30 in the morning. I'll go for a run. I have a weight room downstairs. I treat it like I'm still going to practice every day. Yeah. I try to keep that mindset that I'm going to practice every day. And then again, when that time comes, I'll be ready. Mentally and physically will be ready. It does suck though, because it's like, you can't do half the stuff you want to do.
Right.
What are you missing out on?
The weight room.
Yeah. What are the things you miss out on?
I feel like you miss out on like just the strength and conditioning part of it, like having, you have your lifts that you normally do when you're with a team, and you have like a whole structure. You have the lifts you're doing, leg day, whatever, arms, these sets, that set, all that stuff. Like that's the stuff you miss out. And even like just the protein side of it, like having the protein shakes, having the nutrition staff there at your need and talking to them.
Yeah.
You don't really have that now because everything's via phone and Zoom meetings, and you don't have that one-on-one connection. That's what everyone's truly missing out, is the one-on-one connection between you and the coach, you and the staff. That's what I think I'm missing out on more of.
So you already know that I'm a big fan of yours from some of the talk that we did earlier, and I think come the 2022 draft, a lot of people are going to be talking about, assuming you come out after your junior year. I don't want to make that assumption for you, but whether you come out 2022, 2023, I think you're going to be talks toward the top of the NFL draft. Is there any running back that you've modeled your game after through high school and then going into college?
Through high school, I was really big on James Conner. He played for Pitt and with the Steelers. I was really big on him. I loved the way he run, the physicalness, the ability to go for a home run, to get the yards. Like I really tried to. I mean, I played quarterback in high school, but we ran triple option. So I used to watch James Conner highlights like almost every day. I even be in class on my free time just typing in James Conner highlights. Now in college, so one of my my trainer's closest friend, who I also work out with, Maurice Jones-Drew. I always look back at his tape. I text him here and there.
You just name dropped. You name dropped. You did name drop. You name dropped a little bit. You deserve it though. You can.
Yeah, what?
All right. I would call Maurice Jones-Drew if I could too. I'm just saying I would too.
Yeah, but like if you look at his UCLA film. His UCLA film was I mean, I was young, but look back at it, like he was insane at UCLA.
Yeah.
And he was him and Fred Taylor with Jacksonville. They were like a two-headed monster. Guys.
I hear you.
And I hear you. I wasn't even watching. I was probably high around that time. But looking back at it, like they were dominating the league. But Maurice Jones-Drew is a person I look at now. I watch his tape here and there. And I'm not gonna lie, I look at a lot of other guys who are already in college. Like I look at Kenneth Gainwell. I look at guys who are in my grade. This year who have breakout years. Just look at some of the stuff that they do that I think I can pull here and there and stuff like that. I think most people don't admit it, but it's okay to look at other opponents and try to learn some stuff about them and try to apply it to your game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of Kenneth Gainwell, you guys have you've got Memphis on your schedule, right? So is that going to be cool to kind of see him up front and kind of playing him, not necessarily in person, because you obviously aren't going head to head with him, but seeing him play like up front live?
Yeah, I mean, I got that chance to see it this year. That game was a pretty big game between me and him. I know it was like heavily hyped. ESPN's talking about it, and it'll be fun to go into his house and get another W. It'll be fun. It'd be fun to go back, go to Memphis and beat them at their home, just like we beat them this year. So, that's all that matters. I look at it as someone can have the better game, but it comes down to who wins. And he may have the better game, but I think I walked away with the W. I'm just putting that out there.
I like it. I
think I walked away. I walked away with the W, and we beat a ranked team, another ranked team. I'm just gonna put that out there. So that's all that matters.
Is there a game you're really looking forward to on that 2020 schedule? Like, is there someone you're hyped to play?
If we were to have fans this year, I can't wait till we play UCF. Because from what my teammates are saying is that the bounce house is crazy. People are saying that place is insane. You can't hear yourself think. So that's the game that's marked in my calendar. Plus, I didn't like the way we lost to them last year. I think we definitely could have had a better, closer game against them. But that's one game I circled on my schedule. Then, Memphis. Right now, in my opinion, and it's I think right now, and whatever draft class he's in, I'm in, or we're in the same. He's a top dog right now, and I feel like I'm right under him. I'm right there, and I feel like having that game against him will prove that one of us is the better running back, and it's always those games. It's always good to be able to go against somebody else who is potentially gonna be in your class for that next season. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I mean,
that's the game.
I'm going to be honest. I'm nobody, but I have you ranked ahead of him with the dynasty nerd. So I
I think that, there's some different levels between me and him. Like he's more of an athlete. He's in the slot. He does, like, Memphis used him in a lot of different ways, and a lot of different packages. Being my first year, I didn't, with a new coach, we didn't, we don't really know a lot of things about each other. But I'd say overall, I feel like I'm the better back with blocking, pass protection, catching, and running. Overall, I feel like I'm the better back. But it's what other people think and all that political stuff. And I don't care about all that. Put me on the field against him. I'm gonna go out there and do what I gotta do.
I like it. Hey, I love the confidence, and I agree with you. So you've at least got one fan right here who thinks that you're
that's all that matters. Yeah.
You gotta. I know you're gonna do the Dynasty Nerds film show with Jared and those guys here next week, which is gonna be
nice.
fun to ask Jared about UCF because he's a big UCF guy, and I'm interested to see what he has to say. I'm gonna be watching that. They do a really great job of breaking down the film. I think you're gonna. He's also a big fan of yours as well. Me and him have been talking about you since I think like 2-3 games into your freshman season. So it's gonna be fun to see you jump on there with those guys and break down your film. So. Speaking of that, I watched a lot of your film, obviously, last year. I was blown away by your patience, your vision, the way that you hit the cutback lane sometimes I thought was just beautiful. I really loved your catching ability and your contact balance. I thought was awesome. Seeing some of those guys hit you and the way you kind of kept moving, knocking people over, I thought was awesome. What's one thing you're working on, though, for 2020 to improve your game?
My pass blocking. I feel like it's pretty good. I want to be better. I think that's what's going to put me over the top, over a lot of guys, and potentially, hopefully get me drafted, is being able to protect the quarterback, being able to be an every down back. We always be a 3-down back. You want to be able to stay in a 3rd down when it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 4, and, guys trust you to protect the quarterback. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to be. I want to be able to get better at my pass blocking game. And just also, I could always get better in every category. I feel like I have really great vision. I see the holes pretty clear. I see them pretty fast. I could also get better at that. And then, no more shoot tackling. I feel like at least a couple games I got shoot tackled from a couple touchdowns. I feel like I could have had 12, 13 touchdowns this year. So definitely no shoestring tackles this year.
All right. So I know I told you I'd only hold you for about 30 minutes. So I'm going to let you go here in a minute. I just want to get one more thing from you. Do you have a goal that you set for this 2020 season? There's one thing that you want to accomplish.
I definitely want 1,000 yards. I was 30 yards away from that. So definitely want 1,000 yards. And I want 50 touchdowns.
Oh, no. Did he freeze up on us?
I want 10 rushing and 5 receiving, 5 rushing. Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. There
that's what I want. I want 15 touchdowns. Yeah, 15 touchdowns and 1,000 yards rushing. So that's a goal. And team goal. I want to win a championship, man. I want to win that conference championship, and I want to go to the best bowl possible and win that too, and win MVP. I want that MVP award.
I love it, man. I love it, man. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. I can't wait to watch you this season. I think you're going to have a huge year. So I know that you're showing a lot of love to some of the guys in your draft class. I seriously think you're going to be one of the best ones up there in that class whenever you decide to declare. I know Jared's going to agree with me, and I cannot wait to see you break down your film with those guys on Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Is there anything you want to say before we get you out of here?
I want to shout out to my moms. I love your mom. Yeah, I know she's probably going to watch it, but love the moms. And look out for Temple this year. Watch. We're gonna shake some heads. A lot of people got us ranked 4th, 5th place. We're gonna be up there, and you guys are hearing it first. And if we win a conference championship, I'm coming to you 3, and I'm telling you, I told you so.
Hey,
we'll have to have you back. Celebrate.
Not even when you win it, we will definitely have you back on so we can talk to you about the bowl game and everything, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for your season. I think you're gonna kill it, man. So thank you so much for jumping on with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
The film nerds thing on Wednesday, because they, like I said, I know you'll have a lot of fun with that, and I gotta get an NCAA game in with you at some point, man. I'm gonna get you on.
We definitely got to.
We'll do it, but man,
thank you so much.
Yeah, man, thank you. We'll check back in with you as the season goes on, man. Good luck.
Have a great day, Ray.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, man, 2 weeks in a row had two great running backs on, man. I'm all geeked out. This has been fun, man. This has been
you know what else we have to look forward to in either 2 or 3 years is you getting sniped on trying to draft him because of 3 years of unbridled love.
I will be taking him with my first. I will tank every single draft in the next couple of years. What is that? So if he comes out 2021, I'm going to tank every single league so I can make sure number one pick, I'm taking him. And I said, I'm a huge fan. It's been cool to be able to talk to him. And as you guys just saw, he's such a cool guy. It's been a lot of fun to talk to him. I don't know where Tony went or if he's going to come back anytime soon. So
he's not muted.
Yeah, he's not muted. So we are going to talk about our quarterbacks here. So I guess while we're waiting for him to come back, Matt, let's talk about the listener league. We talked about some of the ways that you decide how you want to kind of announce or allow the first person to get in here in this league outside of Mr. Weber.
Well, as much as we all enjoyed Dennis's suggestion in our personal chat, I think yours was more reasonable. So if you want to go with, I think you had the idea of doing rate and review.
Yeah. So if anybody if you've already rated or reviewed the podcast, we have a ton of those on there already. You can do that. Send us a screenshot. You can send it to either Matt, Dennis, me, the show at Roundtable FFs, one of our DMs. We'll see it. We'll get you put in there. Depending on how many people do it, maybe we'll throw in a couple people. I think last year we had a bunch of people do it, so we ended up throwing like 2 or 3 in. Or the YouTube channel. Obviously, we have a YouTube channel. We're trying to grow that a little bit more as well, since the podcast has kind of its own little audience. If you go on YouTube and rate and review that, we've got all of our videos on there that we've been doing for how long have we been going live now? 2 months, 3 months now?
Yeah.
So
they're adding up.
COVID came into our lives and we came into your
lives. We decided why not.
If you're not enjoying this visual, just blame COVID.
Let's just do this. I mean, we can all admit there's uglier people in the fantasy community doing videos. We're not that bad, so we're good. But go in there, rate and review the YouTube channel if you guys could, because that's obviously big for us as well to boost that up. It'd be really cool. And same thing. Send any of us a DM. Depending on how many people do it, we'll determine how many people we let in. We'll announce it next Thursday, and then we'll kind of throw out the next contest. We'll try and get it full. Obviously, here quickly, we're doing 14 teams, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
14 teams. We still have 9 openings, possibly 10 if Dennis decides to forsake us.
Dennis will join. He will. He'll give in eventually. We're just waiting until the last minute, and then he'll get in.
I saw that facial expression. He doesn't have this.
Sorry, I've been working on my body language. I still got substantial work to do, though.
Hey, he may not be in the same boat as me, where I'm going to tell my wife that I'm going to be working 50 hours a week and doing fantasy 40 hours a week, and then I'll try to squeeze her in. Dennis isn't quite to that point yet. That's just you and me, buddy.
Well, it's not quite as bad a life as some people want to make it out to be. I'll tell you that, but
well,
maybe
it's not bad for us.
I do admit very often that I'm fairly lucky with the way that my wife's schedule works out, that it allows me to kind of live this life. And everybody always asks, like, dude, how does your marriage keep going? It's like, well, my wife's not here, so she really doesn't know what I do at that time. So I'm good.
What you're saying is the key is distance.
Exactly. Yes. And the key part, it's like she thinks I'm taking care of the kids right now. Really, they're locked in a room. I threw some Cheerios on the ground, and I'm like, just take care of yourselves. That'll be back in an hour. So
what's crazy for me is that it's the opposite. She's here with me all the time. And when I'm not like podcasting or tweeting or something, like we're talking about dynasty trades. Like she wants to talk about football. Matter of fact, it's a big joke at the office now, but Melissa is the reason why I'm even into football. Like she was a football fan before I was. So she's constantly schooling me and drilling me on football. It's crazy. Crazy.
All my wife looks forward to is our annual picking games against each other, which I always publish her picks and my picks. And in several years, she has destroyed me.
So has she actually destroyed you, or is that you letting her destroy you?
No.
You don't let them win.
Well,
no, because it's the same picks that I use in our competition. So it doesn't. I've just flamed out spectacularly.
The worst thing for me is my wife is a Steelers fan, so I have to hear about that shit all the time. And I try actually to avoid all football conversations with her at times, because anytime I try and say something about how great Baker is, she's like, yeah, and how many championships did they won again? I'm like,
oh dear. We should probably start talking about quarterbacks before we end up doing the 4 Single Guys podcast.
I know. Well, I don't have to worry about that. My wife doesn't watch it yet. She doesn't even know I do. I just, she's like, "What's that?" Nothing. I don't do anything. I just record for those guys. I don't actually do it. But all right, yeah, let's talk about our quarterbacks here. We're going to talk about 32 through 13 today. Next Thursday, we will finish up, maybe do more than 12. Depends on, I guess, how quickly this goes. I was going to pull that up. I was in the process of updating Mr. Dyer's picks there. So did that work? Is that up there? All right. So this first column here is mine. You got Matt's, Dennis, and Tony's. We'll start at the bottom, which did not show there, obviously. There we go. 32. So I'll let you kick it off there, Tony, since you had to, stab me in the heart there with Dwayne Haskins. Go ahead and give us your 32 through 24 or 25, because we're going to start at 24. But your guys that even in Superflex, you're kind of avoiding or going to be the bottom rung of quarterback for you.
When I look at starting quarterbacks, Dwayne Haskins is still in the worst situation. I don't like Adam Gase teams. Maybe I'm biased.
It's not Adam Gase.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. It's not Jay Gruden. My goodness.
Ron Rivera. Adam Gase. I was thinking of Sam Darnold. You see my number? Yeah, he's back there too. Sorry about that. I got really mixed up there. Sorry.
I mean, you hate Adam Gase so much that anyone that's in a tri-state region,
if he's close to Adam Gase, he's gonna not. It's not gonna work out. Sorry about that. Ooh, embarrassing. Anyway. No, I don't know. There's not been enough improvement there. There's not enough improvement on that entire team. The running back situation, I believe that like a running back situation and a quarterback situation are really closely tied together. And I don't know with Bryce Love, with Darius Geis, with Adrian Peterson, there's nothing sure about this. I mean, consistency is important to me. And unfortunately, Dwayne Haskins has no consistency. He's at the bottom of my starting list because I just, quite frankly, I don't believe that his talent is so great that he can put a team on his back and carry them into multiple wins. I just don't. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league, to be honest with you. And I think Dwayne Haskins maybe is an innocent bystander and a casualty of that. But there's nothing about Dwayne Haskins. There was a few games late last year. I get it. But he didn't do enough. That's all. For me, Dwayne Haskins is my least favorite quarterback of 32 starting quarterbacks. Nick Foles is second because he's unproven. So did you ask me to go from 32 up
through 25?
Yeah, just kind of give your 25 guys. Well, we'll discuss it.
Guys.
It seems like most of us have the same kind of bottom guys. This is for 2020 ranks. Mr. Boz, this is 2020. Give us your 30 through 25, because we all seem to have pretty much the same guys here. Yeah. There's one glaring difference in mine compared to yours. So
I could see Nick Foles being, I mean, in all reality, he could be a top 24 guy, but with the system that the Bears have run, with the way they didn't use Trubisky the way that he should have been used, they have Allen Robinson, a legitimate threat. I'm weighing the goods and the bads here. It's like a Benjamin Franklin close. Nick Foles is another casualty, I think, of a bad team. And quite frankly, as I said on the Huddle Up podcast earlier today, he's not a very proven commodity. He's played 8 games a year throughout his career. He's never, a couple of times he played a full season, but 8 games a year is what the average comes out to. And so, unfortunately, I think that the Bears are caught in this cycle where they're still looking for that quarterback. Nick Foles is probably not the guy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Allen Robinson carries him higher than 32, but I'm not counting on it. Sam Darnold, I talked about the Gase effect. He's my 30. I'm trying to, 30. You've got me zoomed out. 30th?
30.
Sorry. Yeah.
You got me zoomed out here. Darnold's my 30th. And to be quite frank, I maybe should have moved him down without Robbie Anderson and add Robbie Gase and add Adam Gase. Sorry. That situation's probably the worst. I regret not moving him down. Can I scroll down here? No, sorry.
That's the bottom right there, 32 and up. I was trying to mess with it, see if I could get a little bit bigger, but
hit that close button, Matt.
The rest of the guys between 25
on the bottom here
and 30 for me. Gardner Minshew, Teddy Bridgewater, Jarrett Stidham, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tyrod Taylor, Sam Darnold. The one that stands out to me, I think, the most is Tyrod Taylor. I ranked him really low, but if he is the starter for the Chargers and Herbert doesn't take over, Tyrod Taylor could be a sneaky value. That's another situation of inconsistency. My whole thing is to avoid everything about inconsistency. I don't want anything to do with that. So that's why I've got Bridgewater, Stidham, Fitzpatrick, and Taylor all also below 25.
Not bad, Dennis. I got what you're saying now. All right. Anyways,
you'd think with Fox in here being the IT guy, he'd have told you that.
Man, I mean, you
Look,
were.
It was fine. I think
gifted to me there for a minute. I didn't know what was going on. All right, so we all seem to have. I'm just glancing at him. I mean, even though I'm obviously bigger on Dwayne Haskins, actually seems like both me and surprisingly Matt is, and all three of us are kind of in the same range for Dwayne. Obviously, outside of Tony, we all have Gardner down there. Is Jimmy G pretty much down there for all of us?
No, I've got him higher.
You've got him higher, but the three of us are not as high on Jimmy G. Ryan Fitzpatrick down there, Derek Carr down there, Jarrett Stidham. I'm the lowest on him. I'm not as sold. I guess I'm not. It's not much. It's a couple spots. But Dennis, Matt, why don't you have him at the bottom? What is it? You just think he's just going to be the starter all season long, and that's why you have Foles and Tyrod down at the bottom for you two?
Yeah, for me, I think that Carr, Fitzpatrick, Foles, and Taylor all split time with the other quarterbacks on their team. Maybe Carr the least amount, but I think there's going to be times where they just decide they've had it. Gruden starts shuffling them and giving Mariota a chance. So with them, it was just really hard to predict who's going to get how much playing time there. And so those that I felt were going to be splits, I just threw them at the bottom with an estimation of which of the four I thought would get the most starts. So I think Carr probably starts the most, but Mariota gets some playing time. Fitzpatrick, wouldn't surprise me if he goes 6 or 8 games and then Tua takes over.
Yeah.
Foles and Trubisky, it wouldn't surprise me if Trubisky starts the year.
I actually think he is going to start the year.
Yeah,
which is why I have Foles at the bottom.
And Taylor, I think, probably loses his starting job the earliest. Mm-hmm. It's just, Stidham, I think they're going to be a low volume offense. Carolina and San Francisco as well. Haskins, I agree some with Tony that there's not a lot to go on, but I wanted to move him higher. I looked for people to move down, and I just couldn't make a strong enough case to move him up. I think that going into this year, Darnold is going to have he's going to be more secure. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a little bit better. Darnold doesn't have the grade A receiver in McLaurin that Haskins has, but Darnold has a lot better weapons all around. Garoppolo, it's just going to be, I think they're just a low volume offense. If Shanahan can run the ball 50 times a game, he's gonna.
Well, especially now, Deebo Samuel's out for at least a month, and that's going to slow his progress coming back. You have a lot of unknowns behind him.
Yeah.
That timetable, it's 3 to 4 months. So you're saying a month into the season, I'm guessing?
No, they said 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh, no, the new timetable came out, said 3 to 4 months.
Oh, well, then
it
that's
just
even
happened.
worse.
Yeah, that just happened.
Because, that leaves them with Jalen Hurd, Dante Pettis, and Ayuk. They traded Goodwin, who's
don't forget Trent Taylor.
They've got Ayuk.
The 49ers. The 49ers forgot Trent Taylor.
Yeah, but they got Ayuk.
No, they didn't forget him. He just had the same injury last year that Debo has this year.
Liz Frank is lingering. That's a lingering injury.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
Debo's not going to. Debo can show up to the game and not be Debo for the whole year. That's real.
Yeah. So
that's what I was going to say. Is with that injury, I don't even if they say he's going to be ready by the time the season starts. I don't know how much you can trust him this year because I remember Julio playing with that and Julio struggled. And nothing against Debo, but Debo's not Julio.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so sorry. Go ahead, Matt. Keep going.
Yeah, that's similar to what I had down there. I am, so I'll start at the bottom. Foles, I actually do think Trubisky starts the season. That ends up being more of a split. I think Tony's had a fair point. Nick Foles hasn't exactly been durable or successful outside of short stints in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I have Herbert on the list because I think the Chargers are going to be out of contention early, and Tyrod is going to start maybe a month, maybe 5 games, and then they're going to go over. Um, Carr, kind of the same thing. It just doesn't feel like they have a ton of confidence in him, and I feel like if they aren't winning and they don't get off to a strong start and they have a tough schedule, they wanderlust will get to them. So it's not that I love Stidham. I have trouble believing they would throw him over unless he's got awful for Brian Hoyer. I just don't think at this point in time, and unless they go and make a move, it seems like they've decided they're gonna, roll their hand with him. Haskins, we talked about the Redskins. I think he could show signs of improvement and still end up in this 25 to 29 range we kind of talked about before. Minshew, kind of the same thing. I have probably one of the bigger differences for me and some of you guys is I have started to buy into more of the idea that the reason the Dolphins wanted Tua so much is they were looking at having him have a redshirt year and keep building up that team and building up the offensive line. And we have seen of the kind of couple quarterbacks that are going in that are potentially sharing time, the Dolphins were actually quite entertaining watching Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if he doesn't completely implode, he was actually pretty good for their offense, and their team was actually pretty competitive. And I don't think the Dolphins are in any particular hurry to rush Tua back from what happened and to throw him out there, because I think they're looking at it more long term. So I think Fitzpatrick could play most or all of the season, which will make him a sneaky value. And then to me, the 23 to 25 was kind of a coin flip. I am not as high on Bridgewater, and I also think it's a tougher situation with a first-time NFL head coach and a lot of different pieces, everybody trying to come through, and they also have a very talented running back that they can lean on. So that's where I end up dropping him just outside of what we would have considered the QB1, QB2.
Yeah, so for mine, I agree with you guys on the Foles Trubisky thing. I just think Foles is going to – I think he's eventually going to take over, I would guess probably right around week 5 or 6. And I think with the wide receivers and team he has around him, I think he's still going to put up points. I think the Bears are going to be a decent team this year. I don't think they're going to be great, but I think their offense is going to put up points. Why I raised them above Stidham, because I honestly think what me and Dennis talked about all last year and the Patriots handing the ball off to Sony Michel and Damian Harris like 500 times a game is going to happen this year. I think that Stidham will do stuff. But I don't think he's going to be – I think Nick Foles is going to come on strong and just barely beat out Stidham. So that's why I have him just above him. Again, with these guys at the bottom, I'm not saying that they're going to be horrible. It's just the QB is so deep. I was trying to find like Teddy Bridgewater, Matt, Dennis, you guys know I've been talking all about how I think Carolina is going to be good. I couldn't move him. I guess I could have moved him up to 23, but I believe more in that guy than I do Teddy Bridgewater. So I had to keep him at 23, but it was hard.
Hey, when I saw your rankings, it made me happy because I knew we weren't going to get kicked off the show because of where we put Bridgewater. When I saw Dennis and I had Bridgewater in the red below, I was like, oh, man, we're only going to make it 2 minutes into this discussion.
No, I still think that even being the 24th rated quarterback, he can have a good season. I mean, this is just fantasy points. It just means maybe, he's just not going to have as good a season as Patrick Mahomes, which I wasn't going to expect, but let's start talking about our guys up here in the top 24. Superflex, these are the guys that you want to have, hopefully, is at least your second QB. I'll kick it off with my 24, and that is Teddy Bridgewater. I've talked about it.
Scroll up.
I think it's right there. He's right there, 24, Teddy Bridgewater.
Come on, scroll up a little bit.
I'll scroll up. I'm down.
I need more.
Look, he wants to keep the mystery alive.
Build the suspense. Calm down. We're going to talk about our next two, and then we'll move up. So Teddy Bridgewater.
Have you never watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah.
That's where we take the commercial break.
You don't want to give away the answers at the start of the test. That's bad teaching. No, we want to build suspense a little bit. So Teddy Bridgewater, for me, like I said, I think he's going to – the Panthers are going to have a good season. I love Curtis Samuel, CMC, DJ Moore, the way that offense with Joe Brady there, what he did with LSU. I think Teddy Bridgewater can somewhat play the way that Joe Burrow did with LSU last year. I love the offense that they're going to install there. I think Bridgewater's going to be good. And then Herbert, I've said it before. I'm going to continue to say it. I think Tyrod plays maybe 2 games, 3 at the most. Herbert's going to come in, ton of weapons around him. This kid, I was on the Back Row show a couple weeks ago and talked about how he won the academic Heisman, and they said that doesn't matter. I disagree. I think that shows just how smart he is, how quick he picks up playbooks, with the talent he has around him, the gun that he has, the ability to get outside the pocket. I think Herbert's going to be, if Joe Burrow wasn't here, the best rookie quarterback in this class. But Joe Burrow, I think, is going to have a good year. I think I have him higher than everybody, if I'm remembering correctly. So Herbert, I think, is going to end up having a really good year for fantasy if you end up taking him as your second quarterback. Matt, you are in column number 2, so tell me about your 24 and 23.
So I went with a couple of guys that I think are probably better in terms of NFL for the systems they're in than maybe they are for your fantasy. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo both led teams that went into at least a championship game, Garoppolo into the Super Bowl. But I think they're both run-first teams with really good defense that aren't looking to score 35 points a game. And so for fantasy, where do we get our points? It is by them going for a lot of yards, throwing touchdowns. I don't know about you guys, but I find myself more and more increasingly in leagues where you're getting bonus points for long passing plays, for huge performances. I don't see these two guys. I think their teams are going to be good. They'll probably both still be playoff teams or pushing for playoff teams. I think they'll be good in the roles they're in what they're asked to do. But for fantasy, I don't think that's a high scoring option.
All right, Dennis, what about you? 24 and 23.
It comes down to trust for me. I think both guys, Sands' injury will get to start all year, but I don't trust Adam Gase. I think Darnold will have some success in spite of Gase. And Minshew, well, I like Gardner. He kind of came out. Is he a 1-year wonder? Can I trust that he's gonna continue? I know they went all in on him and let Foles walk, and it's. But to me, it's I just don't have the trust there. I want to see consistency. His college game was a little bit different than what I think they're gonna have to run, and then they're not committed to Leonard Fournette beyond this season. So I'm not going to be surprised if they give Fournette 350 carries because they're just going to let him walk. So let's grind him and let him go. We know he can be productive.
Do you think there's any thought too that they might be tanking for Trevor?
Right. That's what I was going to ask too. They're tanking for Trevor.
I don't think they're tanking for Trevor because if they do that, Doug Marrone knows for sure he's out of a job. Yeah, I would think most of us don't think he's coming back anyways, but I really don't think Doug Marrone's going out there saying, hey, let's tank for Trevor so I can get fired, especially get fired. I don't believe that they are tanking for Trevor. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with the first pick overall, but I don't think they're purposely going out there to tank right now.
It could be a no-lose situation. If you give it over to Gardner Minshew, you find out, is he the guy or do I get to draft a franchise quarterback?
Yeah, it's just like, Dennis, who do we have on here? I forgot his name. Mark Donaldson from ESPN. Okay. He is a big Jags fan, and that's what he's talked about. You're either going to find out Gardner's your guy or you're going to end up getting Trevor Lawrence. So could work out either way for you. Tony, give us your 24 and 23.
24 and 23, Derek Carr and Ryan Tannehill. And it's a lot of what Dennis said before. I mean, these are run-first teams. Ryan Tannehill has Derrick Henry on a last-year deal. It's a franchise tag, right? So they're going to run the crap out of Derrick Henry. And we know that John Gruden is an old-fashioned guy. I mean, he has not changed. He's the same guy he was before. He wants a pocket passer. He wants to run the damn ball. And he wants a good defense. I mean, these are two guys that I think – and then add into that with Derek Carr, by the way, Marcus Mariota is looming. And add into that the coach speak that Gruden likes to work with young quarterbacks and groom them and grow them. I mean – come on, there's a reality where Marcus Mariota becomes a project of John Gruden. This just hit my mind right now. But that's a legitimate reality where Gruden latches on to Mariota for no reason other than he's on the team now and grooms him and makes that into a point. It's a mess. Consistency is important to me. that Derek Carr's low on the list. So that's why I've got Derek Carr low, is because the constant pressure of an overwhelming coach, and then Tannehill just suffers because it's a run first team, and he's incredibly efficient, but outside of that, nothing spectacular.
So let me ask, because I'm curious. You just talked about how you think Derek Carr possibly could get replaced by Mariota. So why do you have him higher than guys like Bridgewater, Gardner, Fitzpatrick, Darnold? I mean, I get the Darnold thing because of the gaze, but why do you have him higher than these guys who likely, like Teddy and Gardner, if you think Carr could get pulled, they're going to be starters all season unless they get hurt?
Yeah, and I guess I'm not anticipating Carr being benched for Mariota. That's not the plan. That's not my plan at all. I don't expect that to happen. I'm just saying the reason I would otherwise have Carr much higher. Had Marcus Mariota not been brought in, I would have Carr much higher. I think that pressure and the overwhelming coach, I just don't think that Derek Carr has that grit, that NFL toughness. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, if you bring in Marcus Mariota behind Ben Roethlisberger, how's Ben going to react to that guy?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say, is I don't know that Derek Carr has the grit to make it through this. So I'm pulling his value down. That's all.
All right. So we're going to keep talking about the rest of these guys. I'm going to do it a little bit differently here. A lot of us have Phillip Rivers right here. We see a lot of Phillip Rivers, Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill. All we've kind of all guys that have grouped in this area. Me and Tony both have Phillip Rivers at 21. Matt, you and me both have Sam Darnold coming in here. You at 21, me at 22. So we're obviously higher on him than Dennis and Tony. Why do you have him up here in the high 20s?
So I was actually working up a player profile on Sam Darnold that I'm going to have in a couple weeks. There's going to be a guy a little bit further up that's more near and dear to my heart that belongs to the logo behind me. Where we've had a lot of narrative that everything the team did during the offseason was to commit to him and giving him a chance to succeed. And low-key, I would say the Jets have done something similar with Sam Darnold. They invested heavily in the offensive line. First pick was Mekhi Becton. They went and signed George Fant as a tackle out of Seattle. They went and got Connor McGovern, a Pro Bowl center guard from the Broncos. They worked on building up the offensive line. Brashad Perriman actually looked pretty good in that offensive system in Tampa Bay last year. Maybe not the flashiest signing, but it's not terrible. Denzel Mims is a pretty quality pick. And we have talked about Jamison Crowder being a little bit of an underrated kind of guy at his position. They potentially have Chris Herndon coming back. He missed almost all of last season with first the suspension, then the injury, and they signed Ryan Griffin, who looked good, in replacing him. They still have Le'Veon Bell, who I think, if you deploy correctly, is still a good weapon. They added Frank Gore, so they have a grinder, the ageless wonder back there. And when you look at Darnold's season, he started out kind of uneven because he got mono and then missed 3 games. And I think we discount a little bit. Yeah, he came back for their 5th game, but recovering from mononucleosis to go, back to school or go back to work is one thing. Recovering from mononucleosis to go back to playing professional football is something else. They got off to a really slow start, but I think what gets lost a little bit is the Jets were 6-2 in the back half of the season. Sam Darnold finished as 7-6 as a starter. He improved his completion percentage, his yardage, and his touchdowns while reducing his interceptions in his second year, in a year that most of us considered a bust, and he finished as quarterback 27. To think that he could take a modest step up with a little bit more of a successful team built around him is not that unbelievable. I mean, his ADP is quarterback 22. So, I have him at 21, not really that big of a leap. I think the thing that really holds us back is we don't like Adam Gase. And Adam Gase can be a terrible coach and still have some decent offensive players. Even Tannehill had a decent season and took the Dolphins to the playoffs with Adam Gase. He's had some players that performed even if the team was not very good or was not very well managed. So I'm not saying, Sam Darnold's my man. I'm planting my flag on. I'm saying based on what I've seen, I think him finishing 21-22 doesn't seem unreasonable to me, especially if you hope a player progresses in their third year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for me, the reason I dropped him down so low, Dennis, Tony touched on earlier, Adam Gase, and then a little bit of lack of the weapons too. I don't really love a lot of the players he has around him. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, he was good in Pittsburgh, but really seems like Adam Gase wants nothing to do with him on that team, which I think kind of hurts him. I don't love the wide receivers around him, so that's why I have him down here. Dennis, you have Joe Burrow at 21. Matt has him at 22. Let's see here. Tony, you have him higher, which is interesting. I assume you probably have him somewhere close to me. What are your thoughts on Joe Burrow, and why do you have him here in the high 20s?
I just think he's going to come in and as a rookie, there's going to be struggles while he figures out life in the NFL. Namely, I know he was super accurate and didn't throw a bunch of interceptions in college last year, but that was in college last year where many of the teams they played, they clearly overmatched. So coming into the NFL, playing against guys like Marcus Peters, and Marlon Humphrey in Baltimore, Denzel Ward, there's going to be guys that are just so much better than the competition he's had to face on a regular basis. So I think he's going to be really good. I'm just tempering my expectations for 2020.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I've got him a little bit higher. I'll be interested to see where Tony has him here. So, Tony, me and you both have Phillip Rivers at 21. Kind of surprised. I thought maybe you would let your homerism get the best of you like I did with Baker. So, why do you have Phillip Rivers here at 21?
It's the same argument as many of the other arguments. I mean, there's a lot of good things about Phillip Rivers. So from an NFL perspective, this is probably the best situation that Phillip Rivers has been in a really long time. But from a fantasy perspective, I mean, he's on a run first team. They have, I mean, Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack could run the ball every damn play, and it would probably work out more times than not. I mean, they got the best offensive line in football and two legitimate running backs. It's a run first team. So despite T.Y. Hilton, who I'm a homer, believe that might be one of the best deep threats in football, despite that, so we'll talk about that a different day, but despite having Paris Campbell, who I think is one of the better young possession receivers. Oh, and by the way, Michael Pittman, I mean, he's got all the weapons available. It looks a lot like a Chargers team in the past. When's the last time that Phillip Rivers was like a top 5? What's this? Second
best Dallas Cowboys fan.
All right, I hear you.
No, I would take Indians line over Dallas.
But my point is that despite all the good things going for him, it's a run first team. I mean, he's not going to have the volume. That's all. Volume.
I agree with you on that. That's why I have Phillip here. I think they are going to be a run-first team. It is going to work more often when they run with Taylor, not when they run with Max. So I agree with your statement on it working more often than not on that. Kirk, we'll save that for a little bit. Obviously, I think you're the lowest on Kirk, which is surprising. I honestly thought Matt wasn't even going to rank Kirk Cousins. So
I don't like Kirk Cousins, but I acknowledge that for fantasy.
All right. I'll move up to, what is that? We already did all those. So let's just get the top 15 in here and see what our differences are here. So Kirk, let's see. I'm trying to see the big differences. 20. Oh, wow. All three of us have Kirk Cousins at 20. Tony, you have him at 22. So I'll let Dennis go. He might be impartial toward Kirk Cousins. Why do you have Kirk here down at 20? Because he's a guy who's finished in the top 15 pretty much every year that he's been a starter, and we all have him drop down here at 20. So why? Why did you drop him?
Well, with some of the younger guys I have ahead of him, I think they just have – they're going to have more volume, and they have maybe a little wider breadth of talent. So I know that Kirk has Thielen. He's got Dalvin Cook, theoretically. And Irv Smith, Justin Jefferson coming in. So to me, there's just some questions. And then Zimmer wants to run the ball. So I have volume concerns. Probably is what I see. Phillip Rivers, while he's going to have a great running game, he has a lot of weapons to throw the ball to, and I think Rivers is going to throw the ball. Drew Lock, I mean, he's got Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy. So he's going to be. I think Lock is going to be chucking the ball downfield. Goff has some really good weapons. I like where the Giants are going. So for me, it was really a function of the guys, the 4 or 5 guys in front of him. He's going to have just the least amount of volume, and I don't think he's going to be so efficient that he can leap over them.
I think if you move one field more up, you'll get all of where we're going to today.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even paying attention. I was trying to look at that. All right, so go up to – there we go, 13. That's right. I don't know why I thought we were doing 14. So, all right, so Kirk Cousins, does anybody have anything they want to rebuttal on that? I mean, I kind of agree with what you said. I think the loss of Stephon Diggs is also really going to hurt him. I love Jefferson, but I don't know if he can step up and be quite as dynamic as Diggs was last year. So I think that's going to hurt Cousins a little bit as well. What about you guys? Tony, Matt, anything you want to add?
That's perfect. That's it. I mean, he's got Adam Thielen and some guys that have to make themselves. I mean, yeah.
Well, I like Justin Jefferson. I think he's got a couple of good tight ends. We've seen Cook be a decent receiver out of the backfield, but they had an incredible amount of success running the ball first and then letting Kirk throw when they needed to throw. And he seemed to thrive in that role, which, was good enough to be in this range last year. I think this is probably the range where he lands.
Man, I just realized that me and Tony have Drew Lock in our top 12 and Matt doesn't. How about that?
Let's go, Matt.
I thought Matt was the Broncos fan, but I guess not.
Matt, what's going on here?
I could see him ending up as a QB1, but I think to say without a doubt that's where he's going to go is a little. I think Denver's going to run the ball more than you think they are too.
I think Matt's trying to reverse psychology.
No, I like him, but am I physically putting him ahead of Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or even Baker has more time in his system and more time and experience as a starter. Drew Lock played 5 games, many of which were against subpar teams at the end of the season.
All right, Matt's just like killing. Drew Lock's never coming on the podcast. Gee, he's the Broncos fan over here killing him.
Hey,
I think if you polled most people that aren't the 4 of us, Drew Lock's not in the top 20. I mean, by his ADP, he's dropping down.
Actually, I heard a podcast talking about that today. That how they think he's getting widely overdrafted because of the moves that they made in the draft. I don't know. I believe in him, but yeah, Tony, go ahead. Rebut what you wanted to say on Lock.
I'm trying to figure out if I can respond to the chat notifications. What's the left guard or left tackle? Somebody, offensive lineman, just suffered another torn Achilles. The chat's lighting up right now about Carson Wentz and where I have him.
Yeah.
Well, they lost their guard. They lost their right guard.
Brandon Brooks.
Brooks.
That's relevant. That's relevant. That's the reason why I have Carson. I want everybody to know while you're looking. I have Carson Wentz ranked at 16 because of the loss of Brandon Brooks.
Jason Peters is still unsigned. So
and by the way, Alshon Jeffrey is hurt. So the team,
Alshon Jeffrey's not that good. I don't know if that's an
water is wet. Alshon Jeffrey is hurt.
Come on. You're going to pretend that's not relevant, but come on, that's an important part of their team. That's whether or not he's good or productive.
Alshon who doesn't matter. Jalen Reagor is going to light it up.
They didn't have Alshon most of last year, and it didn't impact the fact that
it was the worst division in football. What do you mean?
He basically had no receivers and was a top 10 quarterback. I think that's what they're saying. Is I thought maybe you were knocking him down because you didn't think he was going to last all 16.
I knocked him down because of the loss of Brandon Brooks.
I mean, the one thing I'll say in what I said earlier is that QB is loaded. I would imagine even if you had Wentz at 16, there's not much separating him points-wise in the top 12 to 10 quarterbacks. For me personally, just looking at your ranks, I mean, I'd have him over Big Ben and Jimmy G, but I mean, I also think Big Ben's trash, so that's just me. All right, so
you're a Browns fan, so that's fine.
That's true. Well, me and Dennis, thank you, Dennis.
My pleasure.
Smart Guys Unite have Big Ben down there at 19. Both, let's see, Matt, you have him at 13, and Tony, you have him at 15. Tell me and Dennis why we're wrong on Big Ben. Why is he going to come back and be a stud again?
Why wouldn't he be? I mean, he broke his elbow. Listen, his elbow got wonky. But listen, here's the reality: the team fell apart without Big Ben.
True.
I'm willing to be wrong. I'm totally willing to be wrong about Big Ben, and
that's a good goddamn thing too.
I'll move him way down. But here's the deal: that offense thrives under Ben Roethlisberger.
They thrived under Ben Roethlisberger.
I think they will again. I think they will again. I don't think that it's fair to say that. I mean, all the things that Ben did before are the same now. It's not like he's broken a leg and can't. He's not like he's lost mobility. I mean, he's still the big oaf that he was before.
You're just saying it was a simple elbow injury. He's a late 30s quarterback who had Tommy John surgery. Baseball pitchers don't come back from that. So that's not the position I'm taking. It just, he seems to be doing better. We've seen him recover before. I like Pittsburgh's, complement of receivers. I know you can not like the team and still.
No,
it's the receivers. It's the complement of receivers that elevates to me. So now I'm changing tracks here. Before I was saying I'm down on these quarterbacks because it's run first. Listen, Christian McCaffrey. James Conner. I was thinking about two different things. James Conner features as a workhorse, and they talk about him as a workhorse. But the reality is, there's not like a bona fide, guaranteed 3-down stud and the running position there. They're gonna have to pass the ball. I mean, that's just what it is. It all flows through Roethlisberger. Maybe I'm crazy, but these other guys, I think that Roethlisberger elevates them because of passing attempts. We talked about it earlier. We talked about suppressing quarterbacks because they weren't passing the ball. Pittsburgh's going to pass the ball. They're going to pass. They're going to pass the ball.
See, I just don't buy it. That as someone as big a baseball fan as I am, and seeing the way pitchers are when they come back from that, most of them, it takes longer than a year. Big Ben's going to have to come back after a year, and he's not going to have the same zip on the ball. I would imagine it's even harder to throw a football than a baseball, just with the way you have to hold it. Juju's the only wide receiver I trust on that team. I don't know. You guys keep talking about all these great wide receivers they have. Okay, James Washington has done nothing. Deontay Johnson got a lot of hype, pretty much done nothing. So I don't know who these wide receivers are outside of Juju that you guys are talking about are studs.
Come on. They spent a second round. Eric Ebron was a first round pick. I don't know.
I'm the biggest Eric Ebron fan on this podcast, and you're talking about throwing it to stone hands. Eric Ebron is going to help.
Well, I watched him. I stood there at the 5-yard line and watched him catch touchdowns for the Colts. And I'm telling you right now, that's a legitimate end zone threat. What was it?
What about the other 7 seasons Ebron's had?
Yeah, well, one of those was like one of the best seasons ever, by the way. The other ones, we won't talk about those.
He won me a lot of bets against Dennis because I bet Ebron over Doyle that year. But Ebron, just because he had one good year, does not make him a good tight end.
But the James Washington is a second-round pick. Deontay Johnson. Everybody, we're all pumping up Deontay Johnson. Like, we can't talk about all these wide receivers and these guys that we like. Eric Ebron, Deontay Johnson, James. I like James Washington. We can't talk about them without elevating Roethlisberger also.
I mean, you can like them, but it doesn't make them good. That's my point. James Washington has not been good. And Deontay Johnson, I would take Deontay Johnson over James Washington right now. Deontay Johnson still hasn't proved anything. So that's for me. It's all jokes aside about me hating the Steelers. I just don't believe in that offense. I don't think Connor is going to be that good of a receiving back. I don't know what they're going to do with Samuels, what they're going to do with Snell. I still have one of the best offensive lines in the game. I honestly think with that elbow injury, they're going to move more toward running the ball and playing defense like they used to be. I don't think Ben's going to throw it the 500 times that he has been. So that's what drops him for me. None of us are really high on Jared Goff. We've all got Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers kind of right in the same area. Tony, you are a lot higher on Jimmy G than everybody else. So just for the podcasting audience, I'll give mine really quick and have you guys give yours. There's one clear fuck up by all three of you that I just don't understand. And we'll get to in a minute. So for me, my 13 through 20 yeah, we left off on 20 earlier. So Daniel Jones at 13, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, Jared Goff, Ben Roethlisberger, and then Kirk Cousins. Matt, who are your 13 through 20?
Ben Roethlisberger, Baker Mayfield.
Wait a minute. Whoa. You all gave me such a hard time about Ben Roethlisberger. I wasn't even the highest one. I wasn't even the highest one on him, and y'all gave me the fucking ringer on it.
Well, because you're defending James Washington and Deontay Johnson like they're stud wide receivers.
Look,
And
if you sit quietly, you can avoid criticism. I learned this after my mistake in my work meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting quietly. I am not trying to draw attention to myself. No, Ben, for me, honestly, my 13 through 17, you could convince me any finish there, including them vaulting into the top 12. It was really hard for me. What kind of made decisions when we had Bob Lung on, what he was talking about, something that stuck with me that probably has impacted my quarterback ratings the most from the beginning of May to where we are now is it seems sort of ridiculous if you have a lot of receivers put high. So at one point in time, I had Brady probably lower than where our friend Matt, the other Matt, does. It's hard if you're going to have several of their receivers and pieces up high in your rankings to think that that's not going to impact. How can you have a bunch of receivers and pieces really up high in the top 20 and say that the person who's responsible for getting it to them is going to flame out? So that has made me think, but that's fair. But you don't. So you having been where he is probably going to make a lot of sense when we look at rankings. I like Deontay Johnson more than you do. I'm prepared that could be wrong. I still believe a lot in Juju Smith-Schuster.
I do as well.
And so, there's I want to believe in Baker too, and I would be happy if he
don't say it.
I want to believe Drew Lock. I want to believe that Drew Lock can be. I think he can be a quarterback one. I also tried when I was looking at it to take out what I feel like is my propensity to just say Denver 1, 2, and 3 in every category, and then everybody else can F off. So I was trying to be, take a little bit of my fandom out of it, and what do I think? And when I was looking kind of at their complementary, Drew Lock has a lot of weapons. They're really young weapons that haven't played together that are in. Cortland Sutton is a great receiver who's going to be on his third offensive coordinator and third offensive system in 3 years. Philip Lindsay is on his third offensive coordinator and third offensive system in 3 years. I mean, these are a lot of, given this off season, it may take longer to gel. I like Baker a lot. They have a running game. Aaron Rodgers, it feels almost criminal to take a guy like Aaron Rodgers and to drop him out of a quarterback one, but it seems like all the tea leaves are pointing to them being a heavy run team. And, outside of Devontae Adams, I defy you to name four other receivers that you would trust on or that you even know that are on their team. So that's kind of where it ends up with me. I like Rivers maybe a little bit more than you, but your arguments are all sound. Jared Goff, I think is where he is. So that's basically how I got to this section.
All right, Dennis, what about you? Who are your 13 through 20?
Well, Aaron Rodgers at 13, followed by Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, Drew Lock, and Phillip Rivers at 18.
And then Tony, you want to give yours real quick?
Yeah, I took Drew Brees at 13. Looking back on it, I would have bumped him down a couple more. But I'll own it. Drew Brees at 13. Garoppolo, I expect a big push out of Garoppolo. You had mentioned I was the highest on him, and the reason for that is
he's going to complete 90% of his passes.
No, come on.
I mean, he could have the fewest attempts of any quarterback that starts all 16 games.
He could.
And you know what? It's actually could make sense. He could complete 90% because if he goes 7 for 8 every game, he's gonna have a
the Deebo Samuel information. Something I need to revisit this ranking.
That happened before we started doing this.
I understand.
But that is a huge blow for him because
that's a big blow for him.
Substantially invest.
And the reality is the team went to Jimmy Garoppolo. This is public knowledge now, and they said, "Hey, we're looking at bringing in Tom Brady." I mean, that's not just some other veteran quarterback. That's Tom Brady. That's the guy that you used to be the backup for. And we're going to talk to him. And Garoppolo handled it the right way. I believe that psychology is really important, especially in these football players. I mean, in the way they play their game, the way they practice, the way they work, it's important for me. And I operate at a high level in a different profession. So I can only imagine, like, they're times 10 on whatever I'm doing is nothing compared to the amount of work it takes for them to keep their job. Jimmy Garoppolo is motivated. He's been warned by his team that they were looking for another quarterback, and then they passed. They kept Jimmy Garoppolo. But I do believe that that man has been warned and that he's listening and that he's going to work hard to improve those things. Now, that's a different thing. Maybe that's not a fantasy football issue. Maybe that's just like an NFL issue. But as a result, I expect him to perform better. With Deebo Samuel being out, I probably do need to move Garoppolo down. So I'll accept that. And I'll accept that I got news of Deebo being out before I ranked Garoppolo. So I need to revisit that. But I don't think I'm that far off.
Did you think it was the same? I swear, when I was listening to the radio, they said 3 to 4 weeks. So I was like,
that's what they said. That's what they said, but it was Liz Frank injury. I mean, it's a nagging season-long injury.
Better than an Anne Frank injury.
It's way better than Anne Frank.
Oh, my God. We all just got voted off the podcast.
And we went dark. Okay.
I went with you.
And now it really is going to be 4 single guys on the podcast. Let's make sure our wives do not see this episode.
All right. So let's see here. I'm trying to think. So I guess my biggest difference on my list is Joe Burrow. I believe in that offense. I think he's got a bunch of weapons around him. I do agree with what Dennis said a little bit, and I think he will struggle some in his rookie season. But everything you hear from LSU and them talk about how smart he is and how I thought he was the best anticipation.
He's 35 years old.
He is 35 years old, which gives him that seasoned veteranness as he's coming in as a rookie. But he's the best anticipation thrower. I think having T. Higgins, who's a great route runner, AJ Green if he plays, but I still like Auden Tate and Tyler Boyd as well. I think he's got a lot of weapons around him. Joe Mixon is going to help kind of not allow them to just drop everybody back in coverage. So I'm big on Burrow. On the Brady thing, I'll just address it. And Matt, you kind of pointed out rightly so. We'll see, especially when we get to my wide receiver rankings, that I don't think that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are both going to be as good as they were last year. I believe Godwin is going to be an absolute stud. But I think Mike Evans takes a little bit of a step back. I don't think Brady is going to throw the ball all over the place like Winston did. And I think that's the biggest misconception here is everybody thinks, Winston threw the ball this many times, so many touchdowns, 2,000-yard wide receivers. I don't think Brady throws it as much as Winston did, which is also then going to take away from the yardage that Godwin and Evans had. Evans is not really a yak guy. I don't think he's going to get that many targets, therefore that many receptions to yards, which drops Brady down for me. I guess the biggest one is, well, let's talk about Daniel Jones before we get to just the complete. I swear you guys just fucked up somewhere, and we'll figure out what you guys did wrong. We all have Daniel Jones up here. Let's see. Tony, you've got him at 17, Dennis 15, Matt 17, and me at 13. So I'm the highest on him, but I'll let Dennis, what is it that you like about Daniel Jones? Why do you have him up here in your top 15 since me and you both have him in our top 15?
Well, he looked good last season at times. He has some turnover issues he's going to have to resolve, especially the fumbling. But he has a nice trio of wide receivers with Shepard, Tate, and Slayton, and he's got Saquon Barkley. For 3 games, he's going to have one of the best tight ends in the league in Evan Ingram. And then I'm not sure who's going to be the other 13 games, but there'll be somebody at tight end.
Right? Red Ellison? Was that who it was last year?
No,
but
Ellison
I think he's
retired.
gone, isn't it?
He retired.
Kevin Graham.
I think it's
Caleb.
Caden
Smith.
Caden Smith.
Yeah.
Caden Smith.
Caden Smith, yeah.
Well, that's why I was surprised they didn't sign Witten, because Witten said he was interested in going, and it doesn't seem like it'd be terrible to have a backup to Evan Ingram.
Well, he's going to, he's mobile. He's going to probably get 3 to 4 touchdowns rushing. He had over 300 yards rushing last season. So if he cuts down the turnovers from the 30 that he had last year, he'll be in pretty good shape to take a good step. He'll play all 16 games, which will give him 3 games above last season. So the production should be there.
Yeah, he only started 12 last year, and so you could have a point about that. I wondered. I like him and I like some of his potential too, but there's another real unknown. In the same way that I wonder how this precarious offseason is going to impact, a guy like Bridgewater, who's trying to learn a new system from kind of a first-time coach. What is the dynamic going to be with Joe Judge and Jason Garrett? Is Jason Garrett's system going to work well with Daniel Jones? Will it take a little bit of time? And I also think, unfortunately for him, I don't know if you can rely. It's not. We make jokes about Ingram, and that's valid. But we also talked about Shepard. Does he make it all season? Does Slayton's?
Well, if he doesn't, they got Corey Coleman to step right in there for Shepard. They can move Tate into the slot.
Speaking of which, the day after we talked about the Washington professional football team, I was listening to the NFL radio on the way home, and they mentioned an off-season wide receiver veteran signing of Cody Latimer. That apparently we forgot in our
No, we didn't forget.
He is kind of forgettable. All right, so I mean, Tony's not here, which is probably for the best because he was afraid of what was about to come. I mean, why? Dennis, you've got him at 14. Matt, you've got him at you both have him at 14. I don't even want to know why Tony has him down at 19. What is it that you don't believe in Baker Mayfield? Why is it that he is so low for you guys? He couldn't even break the top 12. Top 12. Well,
Tony is just fucking crazy, man. I don't know what the hell that Tony is thinking.
Oh, that guy.
He did stuff. Hey, I will say I like Baker, and I think that he can.
Your rankings say otherwise.
I don't think that's a bad ranking. If you're somewhere in the range of 8 to 16, in my opinion, you could flip around.
I have him. I'll look really quick, but I'm pretty sure I don't have him at 8.
Well, so last year he struggled some. He ended up quarterback 20. I looked, Stefanski. If you looked at the average quarterback finishes that they've had running his system when they have a good running back, which I think you'd be hard pressed to argue that they don't have a pair of good running backs.
Yeah.
Sure. I was kind of noting that even in years where they've had really good receivers along with the quarterback in that particular system, guys have ended up finishing somewhere between 15 and 20. They've been really good and productive on the field, and I think Cleveland is a playoff team this year, and I think Baker's going to have a really good season, but he could have a really good season, and because of the nature of the way they're able to win games, end up, as quarterback 13, 14, 15. He, to me, is not a guy who's going to get you the huge bump rushing, which is probably the difference I have between him and a couple of the guys that I have reversed in there. So that's I still think he's going to have a good season, and this would still be a step up in growth over where he was last year.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's 6 spots up over what he had last year. But what about you, Dennis? You have anything you want to add to old Baker there?
No, I think Baker. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if Baker ended up as QB 8 or 9. But there's certainly some chemistry issues with Odell that need to be worked out. Maybe that's just Odell's health. Maybe it's not. But they have one of the best rushing games in all of the NFL in Nick Chubb. And if they get a lead, it's not like Stefanski's prone to just keep throwing. You've got Nick Chubb. If you get up 21-7, they're going to pound Nick Chubb. And so it's kind of been the theme of everybody that I've had lower than you think I should have. It comes down to volume. And I think Baker, he'll have some games where he's slinging it 40, 45 times, but I think he's also going to have some games where he's throwing it 26 or 27.
Yeah, and if we're talking dynasty rankings, he easily, for me, vaults up into the top 12, because there's a couple guys that I have up there that I think will be good in 2020 that I want no piece of if I'm looking long term.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that too. I have him right around 8. I don't have him at 8. I have him higher than 8, but right around 8. I don't
just 3 right around 8.
No,
I'm confused on the math, but
a little bit more realistic. He went to 2. All right, let's just. I don't disagree with what you guys are saying. I just think the play action is going to work a lot better for him. It was something that really he thrived at Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley, and I think with the weapons he has, I agree. If he can get that chemistry worked out with Odell, with what Odell can do after the catch, what Jarvis can do. I'm not as big on Austin Hooper as some other people. I know you guys aren't either, but just having all those weapons around him and Kareem Hunt coming out of the backfield, I think they're going to be able to do it. If he bolts up in touchdowns back to what he was his rookie season, I mean, depending obviously on if you get hurt for interceptions, which golly, I know both you guys are in Scott Fishbowl saying, I don't know if you listen to the podcast on scoring settings, but I'm really glad that the mock draft I did was not the real thing, because I took Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield, and completion percentage and interceptions, I'd have been screwed. So, but yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm concerned.
You have to listen to the podcast, Commission Impossible. They talk about the scoring settings, like completion percentage is going to be big for points this year. Interceptions, I think, hurt you like 4 points or something like that. 6 points for a return touchdown. Like it's. I listened to it the other day. The scoring set. I'll just put it this way: if you think Baker's going to throw a lot of interceptions and Josh Allen's going to not complete a lot of passes, don't draft them like I did, because I thought I was stealing them in like the 6th and 7th round of the mock, and it turns out those were not the quarterbacks you wanted to have. So. But those are our top 13 right there. Not really a lot of differences, I think, outside of Carson Wentz and Baker, obviously for me, but all three of you guys were there. Let's see here. I heard Hunt is studying wide receiver. That is true. I don't know what that's going to mean for him. I think it's just a way to get him on the field more. I still think Higgins or Landry are going to be in the slot. Higgins is just too good of a wide receiver. I think if he goes to the outside with Odell and allows Jarvis to go into the natural spot in the slot position, I think that's going to be better for the team. Hunt, I think, is just going to be there to kind of mix up and confuse the defense a little bit more. But I don't think he gets a lot of plays at wide receiver. Dennis, Matt, do you guys have anything you want to add to that?
No, I just think it's more of a function of Hunt being somebody that's involved. So he's doing the, hey, what else can I do? Hey, coach, let me check in here. I'm more than happy, do you have any play? He's trying to get on the field, and he could very well be the third best receiver on that team.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense. Jarvis Landry does thrive a lot more in the slot. It does feel, I think there will be plays and packages that they put up in there. But we've heard the same thing talked about Duke Johnson. We may not think Duke Johnson is on the same level there, but at some point, you just have to wonder how much are they really going to play their running back up at slot receiver, and how much of it is just to give people something to think about.
Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in there some, and it's just more of a way to confuse the defense. I don't think they're going to use him the way Freddie Kitchens used him, where he was blocking for Nick Chubb. I think that Stefanski is going to find ways, and Van Pelt, who's the Cincinnati quarterback coach last year, who's also going to help call plays. I think they're going to find ways to have Hunt and Chubb on the field a lot at the same time with Janovich, who they got from Denver, one of the, I think, better fullbacks in the league to block for them. Have Hunt possibly, as you just said, move out there in the slot, but I don't think it's going to be as much as maybe people think that he will be by reading those comments. So.
And that Janovich move is another reason I think they're really, they're committing what they can to be a power running game, which would make some sense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great for both of them. It's like I said, last year Kitchens had, when Hunt was running the ball, it was Chubb blocking for Hunt, and then vice versa, and just makes no sense. Not that either one of them can't be good blockers, but when you have a guy like Janovich in there who's meant to do that, that's his job, and he's done that all his life, is just going to help out that even more. But that'll do it for us today. We already announced the giveaway, right? Or not the giveaway, how we're going to do that. Okay, cool. So you guys have anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
Just a reminder that we will be live tomorrow. And the podcast.
Glad you reminded me.
Monday.
Yes, I'm about to go work on a show sheet because I haven't even started on that
you
yet.
reminded me too.
Dennis and I will be live tomorrow, wondering what the hell happened.
Tomorrow, yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah, so we will be live tomorrow. The podcast, though, won't go out until Monday. Will be NFC West, 49ers, and Seahawks. I do remember that part of it. And then we will have that. We will be back again live Thursday. I will be back from being out of town on Thursday. We will announce the who won the
first slot.
Yeah, 1 or 2, 3, depending on how many people, again, subscribe to the podcast, post a review, or you don't have to post a review, just subscribe. Send any of us a DM. Same thing with the YouTube channel. Send us a DM. Can be good or bad. Probably won't let you in if you give bad. Just kidding. But whatever you guys give it, just send us a DM and we will get you guys entered to get a chance to get in, win free swag, get to play with us in the league for this year. We'll be back again Thursday to continue talking about our quarterbacks. Tony had to bail, so he says bye. Everybody else, thank you guys so much for joining us and have yourselves a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.
See you.